Drew, what's happening, my man?
How are you, my friend?
I am awesome. How are you?
I'm doing really well. We talked back in November, just a couple months after Identity, and of course you were on a big high from that because that was
I was still probably floating on a cloud after playing the Gorge, man. That show was seriously. I've had some amazing shows in my life, but that one definitely ranks up there near the top. I can't wait to get back to Seattle.
Really, even more than selling out the Staples Center?
No, listen, it's hard to when they were like the insane shows. It's like the level of insanity is so it's impossible to compare these. When I played San Francisco the next night, everyone was like, "What the fuck? You know, San Francisco's better." I'm like, dude, how can I compare selling out Bill Graham Civic Center to selling out the Staples Center? I'm like, dude, they both were totally like insane. It was amazing. You can't compare these. You can't compare these things.
No, man, it is insane. You're on your first solo tour, which is it the first, it's the largest solo electronic dance tour here in the States? Is that correct? Did I read that right?
Yeah, that's a bold statement.
It's a bold statement. No, but it's a fact, right? It's a fact.
Yeah, well, I mean, nobody's doing anything. I know, a lot of guys set out to do some stuff this summer, and they were doing, 15 and 20 dates. I'm like, screw it, man. I want to do every single city I can possibly do.
Yeah. Were you scared to take on a tour that large? It seemed like earlier this year, other artists kind of stumbled with pushing big shows.
Yeah, there's been a lot of trouble. For me, I never was really that concerned. Look, I'm an American. I'm born and raised here. I've been in the trenches in this scene here for 15 years. I've been touring for well over a decade. Mm-hmm. For me, the time felt right. I've been slowly building and creating this thing. For me, it wasn't this huge jump. Oh my gosh! I mean, dude, the last show I did in Los Angeles was 2 years ago. I was connected to almost 1,000 people. So yeah. I'm we looked at a few different rooms. The next logical move was to do Staples Center. But, I mean, I honestly, I couldn't have seen the fact that it was going to sell out so fast. It sold out 6 weeks before the show. I mean, that was unexpected. The kind of reception that I got. I mean, I knew that people were ready and that the tour was good.
You're cutting out, actually.
Oh, sorry, man. I'll try and stand still and see if we can.
It's all good. It's all good. No, you're excited about it. I love your excitement. I love how much you love dance music. Someone asked you about disco dying, and how you said that I'm trying to remember the actual quote, but you said disco is dead. It doesn't matter, even if this is a fad, because you're still always going to be loving dance music. You're always going to be a part of it. It's always your first love. It's not like a trendy thing for you, which I think is all very noble. Something that I've always said. I've been loving dance music for a long time myself. I've been waiting for it to blow up at this level. No matter what happens, I will always still be about it. Do you think it's still growing now in America? Have we reached the ceiling yet? Have we plateaued, or is it still booming here?
I think it's growing, and I think there's a lot more to come. I really do, man. And it makes me sad when I see the critics trying to rip it down and tear it apart. But whatever. With good comes some bad. It's there's got to be a little salt in there somewhere.
Absolutely. Well, I'm not ready for it to stop growing. I want this to be bigger. I know everything has its heyday, but I know no matter what, like you said in an interview before, no matter what, the fans that were growing will remain fans of this music. So there's always going to be that. It's not like how it used to be. There's so many people right now. I feel like everyone's starting over. Mark Farina recently got kicked off the decks. I guess that was a couple months now. Got kicked off the decks for not playing what the people wanted to hear. And Mark, and you're from Chicago, so you probably have a lot of respect for Mark Farina.
Oh man, the guy's my hero.
But how do you feel about these early pioneers, the people that laid down the work for you and got you involved and excited about music, but at the same time that the new people don't show respect or don't care? Do you think they'll ever get the credit they deserve? Do you think these people will also get their chance to play big rooms?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, man, and I haven't spent much time thinking about any of that. I think a lot of these guys are getting credit in many circles, just not kind of, the more commercial success that some of the people are receiving now, some of these new guys that are coming up right now.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's like the guys that know will always respect and revere what they've done and the groundwork that they've laid and how they've been doing it for so long. It's just, I think there's such a demand for the music right now that potentially some of these guys get booked in venues that they probably shouldn't be playing. They're either too commercial or it's not the right room for them. I mean, dude, I decline shows all the time. And I'm like, look, my music's not going to work there. That's just not the right fit. I understand they want to have me, but it's not the right fit. So I think, it's about people being smart, not getting, too greedy right now. And I mean, that goes for the commercial guys and the underground guys, like whatever. I mean, not every DJ is right for every single room.
Who are your guys growing up? I mean, you grew up in Chicago and San Francisco.
I really looked to Mark Farina, Derek Carter, Heather, and even the guys that came before them. Frankie Knuckles was in Chicago when I was growing up still. Bad Boy Bill was doing it. I mean, that kid was in high school doing it, and I was listening to his mixtapes. So, it's that kind of that first generation, the Hot Mix Spies, Julian Jumpin' Perez, all those guys. But, I mean, for me, I really looked to a lot of the industrial and early new wave stuff, New Order, Echo and the Bunnymen, all that, like, early Art of Noise, all that kind of, like, Front 242, Revolting Cocks, all that real interesting, was kind of like this weird blend of electronic and industrial, and in Chicago, that was really being blended with early house music. For me, it seemed very natural. Looking back on it, I was like, oh, man, that was so cool that they were brave enough to kind of blend these two different worlds.
Well, I always hope these people get the credit they deserve, because I have a lot of respect for these artists, a lot of respect for the scene. You, too, you've been involved for like 15 years. Did you start as a DJ, or were you like raving it up first?
The thing is, back in the 80s, vinyl was the format that you bought. So it's like I bought that, and I had a turntable in my house. Not necessarily that I was DJing, but, that's what you bought. It was like you could just kind of be a hobbyist DJ because, you had a turntable in your house and you were buying vinyl. So, I was always just a hobbyist. And then it took me going to college to really realize, like, oh, hey, I can play some of these really great records that I've bought over the years and have people come out and hang out with me and listen to them. You started
spitting in college, actually. It's infamously at Brigham Young.
Yeah, those were my first paying gigs, that's for sure.
And now you're known as one of the most popular Mormon musicians, which I don't necessarily want to label you, but I think that your position in the dance world is actually doing more for the music and the scene more than any other artist, because the history of dance music or raves involves lots of drugs. And one thing that I've always wanted to help the rave community get out of is that monkier of we're a drug scene. But clearly there is a large group, and I've always known a large group of people that go party sober. That's not part of their experience. And I think that you, just for your background, I think you definitely help the rave scene. Just saying, hey, not everyone has to party.
Yeah, I've been screaming that as loud as I can since day one. Listen, I got involved with this scene because people were open-minded, and I was really intrigued by the music. And you don't have to be high to enjoy dance music. That's just ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And I see a lot of the mainstream critics kind of saying like, oh, it's just a drug thing. It's like, dude, 15,000 people didn't roll into Staples Center to all just like drop ecstasy and listen to my music. That's not the case. It's like they just want to dismiss it as not a true art form or not real music. And I imagine this is what rock and roll went through in the 70s and, punk rock. And it's like anytime there's a new genre that kind of emerges, you're going to get some of this lashback. And that's what's going on with dance music right now. And I just laugh. Because it's like, dude, whatever.
Yeah.
What are you getting 300,000 people out in the desert for EDC and everyone's high? It's stupid. There's hundreds of thousands of kids out there that are enjoying the music as they are. So, there's no need to tear it down.
And there's still a lot of work for dance music in this country. You mentioned that radio, and it has even broken into radio. I mean, of course, my radio station is an anomaly. We've been dance for longer than ever, but we're not using the popularity that we're receiving right now, commercially. We're a non-commercial radio station. And most of the radio stations that have tried to do dance music in the past have failed because, well, it's hard to get corporate sponsors to invest into time on the radio. Do you think that's going to change anytime soon? Will I ever see a paying gig in radio playing dance music?
That's the big question right now. I think that is, and I hope that's where it's going, because right now the current state of dance music, the reason a lot of people know it is because guys like David Guetta have coupled with pop artists, which is cool, that's what his thing is, man. He got together with these people who are already legitimate pop stars, collaborated with them, made a song, so it was able to get into the pop market. I think kind of the next tier, and what I'm hoping is that this next tier is that people will just, dance music won't have to stand on anybody else's shoulders. It'll be able to make it on its own, that I won't have to feature, whatever cool hip-hop R&B guy is the flavor of the week to get my song on the radio. That's never been my thing. I'm like, cool, I've got my sound. Mm-hmm. It's like Nirvana didn't have to change their sound to get on the radio. Nirvana was just Nirvana, and everybody discovered them and loved it. And I think that's kind of the next wave of what we're going to see on the horizon here. People will discover it and like it for what it is. It won't have to transform and try and fit into some pop mold. It'll just be what it is and be showcased that way.
Well, already, you're breaking barriers with your Freaks of Nature tour. 50 dates, is that correct on this?
Yeah, something like that. I mean,
It's insane.
I jump off a few times. It's like I forget exactly what the final count was.
All right, Kaskade, we're looking forward to you. Thank you so much for your time. And yeah, man, we're looking forward to it. Keep doing what we're doing.
Thank you. Appreciate the support, you guys.
All right, take it easy.
All right, brother. Thanks.